Sahana bhavatu sahanam punaktu sahaviryam karavavahai jasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Reshma has a question. In the last big GD, it was discussed that the strength of the intellect determines its functioning during agitation. That's not completely correct. It is a ratio between the strength and the agitation. Could not understand the correlation with the example about changing seat in meditation causing agitation. Please elaborate. Okay. All right. So, firstly, the sentence is that how much agitation, how much your intellect will be able to control during agitation. Where are you, Reshma? I can't see you on there.
I'm here, Jankiji.
So it is a ratio between strength of intellect and agitation. Means your intellect is very strong, it can handle a very strong agitation. Your intellect is weak, then the agitation is also very weak, you still can't handle it. So it's a ratio between these two factors. Okay, so that was the point. Is that clear? Okay.
Yeah.
Now you're saying that could not understand the correlation with the example about changing seat in meditation causing agitation. Okay, so here many factors are involved. When your intellect is putting in maximum effort, you're really trying to concentrate, or in this case, meditate, which is even more effort. You want to make it such that your entire intellect is available for that, whatever you are doing. For instance, if the Prime Minister calls you, you don't want noise around you, right? Because you want to be entirely available to whatever you're doing. It's when you consider it very important. Now, if you want 100% of your intellect available to you, you not only strengthen the intellect, you reduce the agitation. Just like, from outside. You don't want noises from outside. You don't want noises from inside. All right, so you can remove all that thing. As you become subtler in your personality, you start hearing noise that other people don't hear. It's like if your ears are very good, you'll hear disturbances that other people are not hearing. Similarly, when your mind is extremely peaceful, you hear within yourself things that other people cannot hear. In other words, everyone's mind is going berserk generally. And it's all like war is going on. In that, little here, little there doesn't matter. But as the mind calms completely down, even the least things will be noticeable. And one of the examples of that is when you're in the seat of meditation, you will notice, and that notice is agitation, okay? You will notice that this is different. So you don't want even the slightest disturbance because you want to be fully available for doing what you're there to do. That is why in class, we don't tolerate noise, right? We don't like people walking around or showing us moving images and all. Why? Because it's disturbing. And of course, you can control that disturbance. But why would you do that? You want to be 100% available for whatever is going on. Is that clear, Reshma?
Two things. So one, you said you will notice that this is different. I didn't get that. And I still don't understand how this is relating to the discussion that we were having.
That the only connection was you reduce agitation. Instead of saying allow the agitation to be very high and allow the intellect to be very high, you say allow the intellect to be very high and reduce agitation.
Okay, so we were just trying to say that the intellect will function best whenever the mind is not agitated. So we need to try build the intellect, but also try to reduce the agitation in whatever way possible.
Yes, I mean, do your sadhana so agitation comes down. Yeah. So don't, I mean, this is not ideal that you got very high agitation, very high intellect. Ideal is agitation very low, intellect very high. But the fact remains that if your intellect is better than your agitation, then you will manage even with agitation.
Okay, and that line you mentioned about noticing that this is different, what was that?
The calmer your mind, the more you notice things. And that very noticing is agitation. See, sometimes what is agitation? Right? So I'm very unhappy, I'm miserable, I'm crying. That is agitation. That's a lot of agitation. Okay, then the maid has come 10 minutes late. That's an agitation. Right? So there are different degrees of agitation. As the mind calms down, more and more things appear as agitation. Because, what should I say? Because it is so calm. Like on a white wall, a small black dot looks dirty. But if the wall is itself all sorts of things, and nobody noticed that small black dot. So the better something is, the worse it tends to appear. So the calmer your mind is, the more what is the word? The more is the agitation obvious. Suppose somebody does some wrong action. Okay, a criminal or somebody like that does a wrong action. Then what happens? There is guilt, but there's so much other agitation that not even noticed. But if a good person does even the smallest bad action, their agitation will seem very big to that person. It will seem, how could I do that? What did I do? It sort of hits you. What is this? But why? Because your mind is calmer than that of the criminal. The criminal is not capable of telling that he's not calm. He's that agitated.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we were studying the 4 ways that we know something. sense perception, inference, comparison, and authority, 4 ways by which we know something. Now, we cannot know God through sense perception. This cannot be done. You cannot see him or hear him or taste him or touch him. It can't be done. Then second thing is, we can sort of make some postulation with inference. We can sort of get some understanding with comparison. But the real beginning part of our pursuit has to be with authority. Because how would we even guess such things? How would we even think of such things? So the path begins in faith, in a belief that this person knows what they're talking about, that they mean our welfare, that the scriptures, the teacher, all of this knows well and means well. Knows well means they know what they're talking about, and means well means their intentions towards us are good. So that basic faith has to be there. And without that, you can't start the journey. That is why in most religious traditions, they give a lot of emphasis on faith, on belief. They say don't question. They say don't question because right in the beginning, you can't question. What are you going to question? You have to know something to be able to question it, right? How will you see internal dichotomy? You have to know the subject for you to find the internal dichotomy, or you have to do something. So right in the beginning, don't say, don't question. Don't question means don't challenge. I mean, don't question. You know, questions are something that the human being learns out of. How does a child learn anything? Because they question. So questioning is what gives us an intellect. So it doesn't mean don't question. It means don't challenge, don't run it down, don't just mock it. You know, in that sense, don't question. But of course, questioning one has to do. And also you have to question appropriately. Not like intellect, what Chavanni or questioning Char Rupaiya. Shouldn't be like that. Meaning the intellect is 2 cents, but the questioning is 2 euros. Whatever. What is it? In euros, what is the equivalent of cents?
100.
No, how cents? What is cents in euros? Like, what's the word for it?
I think it is cents only.
Cents.
Cents only. Okay, fine.
Cents.
Dollar and cents, euros and cents also. Okay. So your intellect is 2 cents worth. Your questioning is 4 euros. How is this going to work? So if you have 2 cents of intellect, then spend only that much. So in that sense, no question, not question. How will we learn if we don't question? And anyway, we're here to learn, right? We're here to develop our intellect. We can't develop it by not questioning. So when they're saying have faith, it doesn't mean don't question. It just means have faith, have a belief, have a basic belief that you have, that this person, the scriptures, whatever you're following, means well and also has knowledge. These 2 things you must have faith in. Because there's no way you can tell whether this is true or false. You don't know whether the person has good intentions. You don't know whether the person has knowledge. So since you don't know it, you're forced to go by faith. However, here is where the problem arises. The faith has to one day lead to knowledge. But in most cases, we stay with the faith. We're very happy with the faith. We're very happy. God exists. I have faith, God exists. I have faith, God exists means I don't know whether God exists or not. I'm just willing to find out. That is what faith is. So faith exists in ignorance. And the reason for the faith in ignorance is to reach knowledge one day. Okay, so I am following somebody with faith in the hope that one day I will be learned, one day I will be knowledgeable, one day I will know the truth. So that's the right way to approach authorities. You have faith, you question the subject, and eventually you learn the subject, not stay with the fact that I don't know, I have faith. Faith only exists where there is ignorance, otherwise you cannot have faith. See, now that you know that class is there, you don't say, I have faith, class is there. You know class is there. But until you came to class, you had to have faith that there will be a class on Saturday morning. Shashi has very recently joined us. So when she was first told that there is a class Saturday morning, then she had to have faith that there is. That is why she put on her computer and logged in and all of that stuff. So you take action because of faith. And having taken that action, hopefully you reach knowledge, which is you find out that that thing is there or that thing is not there. What is true or false? Okay, so 4 ways of learning about God, of learning anything, but in our case about God, in sense perception, inference, comparison, and authorities. Okay, all clear up to this point? So we have to still study authority, right? Okay, who will read?
Shall I, Janki?
Please, Elsie.
Agama, the 4th means of attaining knowledge is through tradition. Tradition is based on time-honored preaching and practice. The ancient sages have tried to expound their ultimate experience of the self, but could not effectively communicate because of the limitations of the body, mind, and intellect to receive it. The 4th plane of God consciousness cannot be captured by the waker's perception, emotion, and thought in the waking state of consciousness, much less through the states of dream and deep sleep. Nothing from the terrestrial world can describe the transcendental being. The sages understood the difficulty of the mortals to conceive the immortal self. Hence, they explained the waking, dream, and deep sleep states of consciousness exhaustively. They analyzed these states with the taste, logic, and reason, and projected the possibility of the transcendental reality. Following their methodic presentation of facts and figures, one develops a faith in the reality. Not a blind faith, but one that is born of conviction. Such faith is further reinforced by unequivocal declaration of self-realized souls. Rabindranath Tagore, the Indian poet-philosopher, describes this faith as a bird that feels the light and sings while the dawn is still dark. The Vedantic tradition helps you to feel the light of consciousness even as you remain in the darkness of ignorance. So the 4th means of attaining knowledge is through tradition. The ancient sages who attained self-realization knew very well that this cannot be effectively communicated because of the limitations of the body, mind, and intellect. Hence, they took the example of waking, dream, and deep sleep states of consciousness very exhaustively. They try to analyze these states with the logic and reason. Following their presentation of facts and figures, one develops a faith in reality, but it is not a blind faith, but the faith that one day it will be revealed to us in that way. And it is compared to the Rabindranath's words the faith of a bird that feels the light and sings while the dawn is still dark.
Elsie, you almost covered the whole paragraph. To say the paragraph in 1 line, 2 lines, 3 lines at max.
Okay. The self-realization state cannot be conceived through the explanation because of the limitations of the body, mind, and intellect. So we have to put faith in the knowledge by the authorities.
Right. Why are we putting this faith?
Because on the faith that they have experienced, and so
Yes.
far they are no.
Correct. But how did we get the faith that they have that experience?
Because so far we have trust in their
Yeah, how did we get that trust? We read their logic and reason and
Yes.
felt that maybe there is a point there.
yes.
Okay, we heard that thing. This is the difference between blind faith and true faith. Blind faith means kisi ko bhi pakad liya. You catch hold of anyone and you say, okay, I have faith in you. No, it's not like that. You make some amount of, listen to what the person is saying. And if you are convinced, then go further. If you're not convinced, then you go listen to somebody else. So blind faith means there is no basis for that faith. Faith means that you have some basis, you have some reasons. Like when you go to a person and ask him to cure you, you say, I've got a stomach ache, please tell me what to do. Now, why did you go to this person? Because you know he's done his MBBS. He's a doctor. So you can ask him this question. But suppose you go and anyone who's walking on the street, you catch hold of him and say, I've got a stomach ache, tell me what to do. Then it's called blind faith. But now you see this guy has his MBBS certificate or he has cured your friend or something you've got. And therefore you have faith that this person will now know and cure my ailment. Right? So it's not an unreasoned faith. It's not, free for all. You have given it some thought. You cannot give it full thought, but you have given it some thought. Whether it is possible, whether it is likely, all this sort of thing you've done, and now you have faith. Okay, very important to know what is the role of faith. What is the role of faith? It is supposed to lead to
Knowledge.
knowledge. That is its role. How do you distinguish faith from blind faith?
Faith is based on logic and reasoning.
Yeah, it is based on some amount of intellectual application, not just random. Okay, so that's why you believe the scriptures, because there's some base to this. Now, anybody gets up today and says something, whatever they want, you can't have faith on it, right? There's a background, there's a tradition. In our subject, we have a thousands of year old tradition. Thousands and thousands of years have passed with and it's been filtered through the intellects of all the great people of their times, and then it has been passed down. So one assumes there's good reason to listen to this. Over the centuries, wise people have said, this is useful, keep to it. Over the centuries, not one person got up one day and said, here is something fantastic. So there's enough reason for us to investigate it. Even when you read the words, they somehow touch your heart. You don't know why they touch your heart, but they do. So that doesn't mean you accept it. It means you're willing to take this forward. You're willing to study it some more. Right? So we must know what is the role of faith. We know why do we require faith? Why do we require faith?
To start the journey.
Knowledge.
Yes, but why do we require to start with faith?
Because we don't have knowledge.
Because we do not know it. We cannot know it. Not only we do not know it, we cannot know it. So what can we do? They're telling us it's like a child being told that you cannot understand Einstein. It's not that you don't know what Einstein says, you cannot understand it. So if you want to understand what Einstein says, then you please study physics. And so he starts the study of physics. We are somewhat like that. We cannot understand what the sages say, but if we wish to understand it, then we better undertake the path. Okay. So, Piyush Paduri, you had something to say? Saw your raised hand.
Janki ji?
Yeah, Milind. Mr. Baduri, you wanted to say something? I guess not. Yeah, Milind.
Janki ji, how to distinguish between faith and fanatism?
Faith says, I don't know. I am following this path until I find out. Fanaticism says, I know, and you had better learn what I know. You had better do what I know.
Okay.
I'll kill you if you don't follow what I know. Up to that point.
Pressure tactics.
No, it's just that the belief in your knowledge. Faith is the belief in your ignorance. Fanaticism is the belief in your knowledge. I know it, and I'm going to tell you what it is. That is fanaticism. The pressure part comes later. It's the original belief of knowledge. Why are people religious fanatics? Because they claim to have knowledge of God. Why are people health fanatics? Because they claim to have knowledge of health. Whatever fanatic somebody is, whatever you are, because you believe you have knowledge in that field. And unfortunately, that turns out to be an erroneous belief because all you have is attachment, not knowledge. Okay, Milind?
Okay, thank you.
Janki ji, a clarification on the last line.
Mm-hmm.
The Vedantic tradition helps you feel the light of consciousness. Does it mean that it's going to appeal to your entire personality and therefore you have the conviction?
Makes you feel the light of knowledge means that, see, you can't say makes you understand the light of knowledge. So what you say is you have a very strong belief in it. And because you have a very strong belief in it, you feel some sort of experience on it. Experience of it in the sense that you genuinely feel that this world is divine. In that sense, it's not a knowledge, but it is a reflection of your strong belief that the world is divine and therefore requires my love or my respect. Whatever I feel I should have if God was standing in front of me. So your way of perceiving things becomes different in that sense. That you could, I suppose, say that it includes all aspects of your personality, but it means that your experience of life shifts to a sense of divinity, a sense of values, a sense of virtues, a sense of cheer, all the qualities that should develop if you had. I mean, so imagine if God is with you. Suppose Krishna is going with you on a journey. Will you not be happy? Will you not look at him with reverence? Well, whoever is with you, you're happy with them. You have a certain degree of respect for them. In fact, one of the more interesting things is that as you develop spiritually, you become very respectful towards others. It's not just like you love them and you think they're idiots, but you become respectful towards them. So you see, even very highly cultured people, they're very respectful towards whoever they speak to. Okay, so basically it means you are experiencing it in some manner. You are experiencing the spiritual path in some manner. You have a different perception, a different view of life.
Or
Even
perhaps
while,
growth in personality.
sorry?
The growth in personality which makes you perceive things. Okay.
Yes, even while we are still in this world of ignorance, some change has taken place.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, so this topic, the previous topic told us that there were 3 states of consciousness. This topic tells us that there's a 4th state of consciousness which we have not experienced. And the only way we can experience it is with the help of the authorities. The other methods give us reason to investigate it. That's what the other methods do. Okay?
दीदी मेरे को एक बात पूछनी है
पूछिए।
जो ये रविंद्रनाथ टैगोर ने जो बोला है कि भाई जो बर्ड है उसको मतलब अंदर तो फीलिंग आ गई है ना, वो तभी तो वो ये सिंग कर सक रही है, भले बाहर अंधेरा है। तो लाइक हमें यदि ज्ञान से इतनी नॉलेज अंदर से आई है लेकिन फुल्ली नहीं आई है समझो, तो अंदर जो हमारी प्रफुल्लता है और वो है, उसका मतलब कुछ ऐसा हुआ?
Yes, that's correct. Anjali.
Thank you.
The question was that just like the bird feels the dawn while it is still dark, so too in our life, we feel that experience of divinity, the happiness and the love before we are enlightened. Is this the comparison? Answer is yes, that is the comparison. Okay, so far so good. Shall we go to the next topic? Who will read the next topic? Who will read the next paragraph?
I'll read it.
Please.
Assurance of Vedanta. Vedanta assures the self is within the reach of every human being, that you can gain the 4th state of absolute peace and bliss. Attain it by merging with the self. That is your mission in life. If you do not achieve it, your life is spent in vain. You suffer the greatest loss. None seems to realize this, nor even aware of the purpose of human existence. The trend everywhere is to crave for material possession and sensual enjoyment. People are enchanted by the attractions of the external world and live a superficial life with no concern for the underlying reality within them. They are lost in the waking, dream, and deep sleep states of consciousness, and totally involved in the temporal existence of these states, ignorant and indifferent towards their absolute state of the divine self. But those who seek the self within enjoy peace and bliss progressively. Pursuing the spiritual path, they finally attain the absolute bliss of enlightenment. So this paragraph explains that the 4th state which we are talking about is possible to attain by human beings. In fact, it states that it is actually our mission in life to find that state. But unfortunately, we are neither aware, and even if we are aware, we don't really understand the meaning of what this really is. And that's why we keep pursuing the world, because that is what seems real to us. So we are more attached to our other 3 states, which are actually temporary, and lack of ignorance makes us attached to them.
Lack of ignorance?
I'm sorry, our ignorance makes us, lack of awareness makes us ignorant, which leads to attachment to what we see and believe in. And but what we are seeking in the world is actually what we will get if we pursue the 4th state, because that is where ultimate bliss lies.
Very good. If you had made it shorter, it would have been better, but good. What is the assurance of Vedanta that we can reach it? Okay, we don't have to rely on anyone to tell us what it is. We will know it ourselves. This is the assurance of Vedanta. And you can say, then why don't I know it? Because you don't want to know it. If you had wanted to know it, you'd have known it by now. It's that simple. Now, why do you not want to know it? Too attracted by the world. Too attracted. We are indifferent to this. We don't see its value. We don't understand that first you do this, then you do anything else. Our attitude is first let me do everything else and then I will do this. We don't understand that this has priority. Everything else can wait. It is not running away. And it is not even going to give you anything by coming to you. Anything we do in this world is a waste of time. It's just a waste of time. You may think, why is it a waste of time? Think for yourself. What did you achieve? What did you do it for? What did you get out of it? What part of this made sense? If you eat anything, it will leave your body. If you get anything, it will leave you. If you were attached to any being, any person, that has its own stories. What part of this is useful? And yet somehow it fascinates us. It fascinates us as the light fascinates the moth. The moth is so fascinated by that light, it will go into the fire and kill itself. This is what we do in the 11th chapter, which we studied yesterday and eventually do in Sunday class as well. What is it? Just getting attracted, going around in circles and killing yourself. This is your life. My life, your life, every human just attracted to something, going around and around it, jumping into it, and dying. Now, the whole thing is a waste of time. You took up a job. What did you achieve by that job? You sold wicks. Spent your whole life selling wicks. Now, what did you really do? You sold wicks. Or whatever, you did anything. Whatever anyone has done, it's just been a waste of time. Can we justify what we have done to ourselves? Or did we just waste our time? Did we waste our effort? So much effort we have put into so many things in this world. What have we got as a consequence of it? These are questions we have to ask ourselves because we're so attracted by it. See what is here. Meera, but we have to fulfill our obligations. Meera, what do I say? We have to fulfill our obligations, right? Answer is right. We have to fulfill our obligations. But when we take care of our children, when we run our businesses, when we do whatever in this world we are doing, are we fulfilling our obligations? Or are we attracted to that thing? When you look after your child, is it because you're a helpless victim of the attachment? Or are you doing your obligation? The two may be doing exactly the same thing. One is attracted to the world, one is not. So we have to fulfill our obligations. That is correct. However, that is not what we do. What we do is we're tremendously attracted to that thing, and like that moth, we're running round and round it. Whether you're attracted or you're fulfilling an obligation is only a matter of attitude. And our attitude is never of obligation. In other words, if your child required you to leave him alone, can you leave him alone? No, you'll still hover. Who is telling you to hover around them? No, my obligation. No, your attraction. This is called discrimination. When they tell you do your obligation, we use it as a justification for our attraction. We're not doing our obligations. We want the result of those things. We are attached to those things. We are attracted by it. That's why we're doing it. There's no concept of obligation in our mind.
But Janki ji,
Yeah,
I just had a query.
go ahead.
I mean, you're born as a child. You're supposed to study. Suppose, and that is one phase of your life. And then the next you go to college, and then so on and so forth. So when you're expected to study, you study. You're supposed to study, right? That's the way I meant.
No, please distinguish between
Okay.
two things. As a child, you did not study because it was your obligation. You studied because your parents forced you to. How many of us said, this is my duty and let me do it well? None of us said it. If
Yes,
we
that's
could have avoided that studying, we would have all done it. We couldn't. And therefore, we were forced to. Then we went into college. This time we were freer. So we studied even less. And we did lots of things, other things, which we need not mention now and let all the others know. But we did many things. Did we do our obligations? Not at all. We were always attracted by something. We chased that thing. And we did our obligations simply because we were forced into it. Sometimes what we were attracted to and our obligations would happen to be the same thing. In which case, we claimed obligation, but we were only following attraction. I hope that distinction is clear because we think of obligatory duties as an action we perform.
yes, ma'am.
Yeah, it's not an action. It's an attitude towards the actions we perform. Deep Raj. What drug addicts are to normal people are to develop souls. Yes, that is correct. Nonita, interesting Bharat. Unfortunately, we don't see the pursuit of the self as our obligation. Yeah, in fact, if people see it as an obligation, but karenge, dekhenge, ho jayega. I mean, we're like, yeah, someday we'll do it. It's something good. We should do it someday, sometime, somewhere. I don't see it as urgent. This is what slips my mind. I don't see it as urgent. Okay, if I have something else, I'll simply not go to class. If I have something else, I won't get up in the morning and study. If I go to class, it's because nothing else was there. If I get up and study in the morning, it's because nothing else attracted me that day. If at all I could have things which were attractive, gone are my studies and gone is my class. What sacrifice have I made for that study and for that class? Or did I only do it when I had nothing better to do? Did I design my life around my study? Or did I design my study around my life? Actually, I didn't. I was just attracted to things. I did them when I didn't have anything particularly attractive. Then I went and I did this. That's how you see people are irregular, right? What is the irregularity caused out of? To be regular, you have to design your life for that. Otherwise, there's no way you can be regular. Always something is there, something is there. That's why regular students are always considered better. I mean, not here, anywhere. Because to be regular, you have to see it as your obligation. You have to see it as your commitment. So there are some people who never have missed class, like somebody like Mahesh, for instance. He attends the, which class? That time, Prem Puri class, Tuesday class it was, which has now become, I don't know, Thursday or Friday, one of these classes. So he has been around for the last almost 20 years, I would say. I don't know, 20 years, I think Mahesh has been, say, from 2005 to now. So it's just short of 20 years, 17, 18 years. Mahesh must have missed his class around thrice in these 17 years. That's called commitment. It's never happened that he's not in class. And if he's not in class, something really dramatic has to have happened. Sometimes it was just him and me, because nobody else makes a commitment like that. So why does this happen? Because we're so attracted to things that this is neither urgent, nor is it a commitment, nor is it an obligation. Our obligations. Shilpa will know. Shilpa, have you ever come to class and Mahesh hasn't been there? Shilpa is from Prem Puri class. Never happened, right? I mean, everybody relied on him because you all
Never
knew.
happened.
Never happened, no? Everyone in the class relied on him because he was always there, whether anyone else was there or not. Even if I was not there, he was there. He was always there. So that means you are designing your life around it. You're not designing this around your life. So that doesn't mean, oh my God, I have to give up my job. Suppose Kalyan says, oh my God, don't make me give up my job to attend class. So no, you don't have to give up your job to attend class. You just have to know in your life which is the more important thing. You say, no, but I can't give up my job. How will I feed my wife and children? Who's asking you to give up your job? But you must still know that as important as it is to put food on the table, it is more important to put some sense into your heads. That is the beginning point of something. It's not the last thing when I have time. So that's what he's trying to draw our attention to. We are indifferent to it. We are either ignorant, but in this class we cannot accuse ourselves of ignorance. So we are indifferent to it. Every single one of us, including the speaker. Every one of us. There is
I was just coming to that, Janki, the Mira's question and the extension of that. But in the same breath, we say that we have to continue and perform our actions and live our life. So just trying to, clarify the distinction for myself. That means while you're doing it, either don't be indifferent or be involved. Then only, and focus on this pursuit.
No, there is no difference in what you do. There's only a difference in your comprehension. So you know in your life that the most important thing you're going to do in your life is the study of Vedanta. You know this. When you know this, that is all that is required of you. Everything else will fall into position. Nothing else you have to do. They don't change what you're doing. Nothing changes. Only thing is you understand this is the most important thing. Everything else is just a waste of time and a waste of effort. I am here, I have to do this. That's a given, right? We all have to breathe, right? We have no option there. We all have to eat, right? No option there. We all have to look after all the samsara we've created. There's no option there. But how attracted are you by this whole thing? How much are you like, big kick in life if this happens, if that happens. Big sorrow in life if that goes or that goes. The most important thing is your comprehension of Vedanta. And I use that in a very Catholic sense, not like I must understand one book or one text, but your understanding of the whole picture of things. That is the most important thing. Everything else is an adjunct. When you have that understanding, you're on the path. So it's not a change in action. It's just an understanding, just a comprehension of the fact of life. Everything else you do will be a waste of time, will be a waste of effort. You are going to lose it. Whatever in the world you achieve, you're going to lose. It's a question of time. Okay, you achieve number one status in Wimbledon. What will happen? You're going to lose it. You achieve becoming world's richest man. What is going to happen? You're going to lose it. Whatever in the world you achieve, you're going to lose it. It's a question of time. You have the best relationships, the best anything. I mean, it's not to say negative things. Please don't get a pessimistic view of this thing. But you must realize that this world means change. And if it is going to change, then all the work that I do for it is going to one day be rendered null and void, right? It's a question of time. This is just a comprehension of life. It's nothing else. We are here, we have to do multiple things. You have to throw a party, you throw the party. And what happens at the end of the party? Nothing. Everybody ate, drunk, went home. Finished, matter is over. You say, oh, you threw the best party. No, only until the next person throws an even bigger party. You know what amount of time and energy and money they spend on these weddings here? I don't know, Madeline, if you know, in India, one of our hobbies is weddings. It is a rather developed hobby we have over here. And we do a great job of it. It's like all maja and masti and everybody jumping around and dancing and this and that. And it's all wonderful. And the clothes are wonderful. The jewelry is wonderful. And some people have such artistic talents. You know, it's like a full Bollywood performance, this thing. And they spend months of work on it and any amount of money on it. It's gone to crores and crores. You will be amazed at how much money we spend on weddings. And then people will come, everybody has a great time and they enjoy themselves and they fight with each other and they do one-upmanship and, you know, the whole drama going on, full soap opera going on. And then what? It's all over. Finished. And all that people said such great things about the wedding you organized and how classic it was, and wonderful it was. All until somebody else gets married, some other wedding takes place, and now that becomes the talk of town. What is the point? I mean, it doesn't mean I am not against the big weddings. They're great fun. Please go ahead and do them. That's not the point. The point is our understanding that whatever in the world you choose to achieve, it is eventually just a waste of time and effort. You get a high for a while and then back to the low. You go on a holiday. What happens? Oh, you had a great time. You saw this, you saw that. Recently, I went to Jordan. A few months ago, I went to Jordan. Wonderful experience. It was beautiful. I said, oh, Jordan is the best country in the world. I love it so much. It was great. You go into the spring waters and your knee ache just disappears. You go in the Dead Sea and you just float away. Whatever, you put that mud on you and any smile skin thing you have, it goes away. And everything is very lovely. I'm not starting Jordan tourism here, by the way. Just telling you that whole trip was great. But what after that? Back to square one, right? And we've all done that. And then people say, you should go now to Scandinavia. And then you take this caravan and you go and all the beautiful things. Okay, great. I'd love to. I'm sure it'll be great. Somebody else would go on that Alaskan cruise. I'm sure it'll be great. But then what? Back to square one. Back to you and I talking to each other. So why don't they talk to you now only? So the point is not that we shouldn't enjoy life, not that we shouldn't do the weddings and go on the vacations and do the job and have children. The point is not what you do or what you don't do. The point is
The attitude with which you do it.
which is what?
That all this is temporary and there's something else I need to pursue.
Other way around. That the most important thing in life is my study of Vedanta. Everything else is a waste of time. All of it is time pass. Nothing wrong with time pass, but it is time pass.
But Janki ji,
Hmm.
that is very provocative.
Okay.
Because if you're saying everything else is a waste of time, I mean, one basic thing as human beings is all want to express themselves and whatever, find meaning in whatever they're doing, whichever work, and they believe at least that to some extent is pushing them in that direction of finding meaning. So you're saying all these are really not going to give the meaning in life except the pursuit of self.
No. When you're doing whatever you're doing with the intent of the pursuit of meaning, then that is the right life. There is no pursuit of self independent of your life, right? It's not like you're leaving your life and pursuing the self. There's always this concept like there's the two parts. There's no two things. You will live your life. You will have to express yourself. You will have to get married and have weddings and I don't know, whatever, go on vacation, go to work, blah, blah, whatever's going on in life. But what is your understanding of this whole thing? Is it that I am in this to understand the meaning of life? Or am I just attracted to it and I am, going up with the swells and the shadows? Is that clear?
Yeah.
You're not leaving everything, going to the Himalayas, sitting in meditation or what. You look at your own life with a thoughtful eye. You are using everything as a method of self-growth, not because you are so attracted by those various things. That is the difference he's trying to draw. So that's what Reshma says, difference of attitude. But you understand what is that attitude. One attitude is, my life is here to teach me Vedanta. That's one attitude. The other attitude is, all this is so wonderful, let me jump into it. That's the other attitude. So I'm going there because that attracts me. I'm not going there because it will develop me. Like Madeline makes movies. So she can make movies with different kinds of attitudes. Like I want to make money. I want to do something, I want to make movies. I want to make money. I want to express some ideas to the world. She can have so many attitudes. But when her attitude is, I make movies so that the meaning of life is revealed to me, then she's a Vedanta student. It is just a way you look at it, nothing else. Siroto, you mean everything else the waste of time except for studying Vedanta? Everything else, yes, Siroto, except that we're not talking about studying the book, but we're talking about living life so that it teaches us the facts of life, as opposed to living life out of great attraction to various things. When you do things out of great attraction, then those things are eventually lost. So you're just heartbroken. But when you look at life with a thoughtful eye, with a philosophical eye, with a Vedantic eye, then you're living life with a completely different version of it. Is that clear, Sarota? Momita, what matters is more important than matter. Yes, Jordan Peterson, yes. So it is your attitude of seeking and pursuit in life. You've understood that the point of your life is the pursuit of the self. It doesn't mean that you've gone to your room and you start just studying all day. You'll go mad if you do something like that. Please don't try these steps. Yeah, I mean, you'll have a terrible life if all whole day only studying. Don't do that. So we've in fact started a mighty thing, right? We started this whole thing of starting a Vedanta university. It's a huge project. So if everything is a waste of time, why are you starting Vedanta University? Isn't it equally a waste of time? Of course it's a waste of time. Everything is a waste of time. But if we can start that university with a different vision of our own work, then it adds meaning. Okay, so we are indifferent, either ignorant or indifferent. We can't be ignorant because now we are attending class. So now we can only accuse ourselves of being indifferent to the urgency of the pursuit. Okay, so that's it for today. Hari Om.